the RC of the Hyundai i20 which was used for the blast. This is the same Hyundai i20 which supposedly had, as per top intelligence sources, the IED which exploded and now has led to the death of 9 people. That is the RC on your screen. As you can see that the RC is in the name of Mohammed Salman, who has been detained by the Haryana police. You can see his name in the top left corner of the RC. The manufacturing date is 2013 and the validity of this RC is till 2029. So this was a valid RC, even though Mohammed Salman is saying that he sold the car to a man named Devendra. He did not change the main paperwork, the RC paperwork. The car is still in his name. You can see that the car number as well as his name is on the document associated with this car, which is valid up till 2029. And you can see that it's registered. The address has been registered in Shantinagar, Gurgaon, which is why he has now been detained by the Haryana police in connection to this terror attack. That is the details got to us by our reporters on the ground. As you can see, that is the individual on your screen, the owner, the original owner of the Hyundai i20, where the IED was supposedly fixed, which exploded outside the Red Fort metro station. Mohammed Salman, son of Mohammed Shahid, and the registration date is of 18th March 2014. The manufacturing date is April 2013, and the validity is up till 15th of February 2029 as per the details of the RC. So clearly this car was in his name, even though he says that he sold it to other people. Now several reports suggest that this Hyundai i20 has gone through several ownerships, but the paperwork is in the name of Mohammed Salman, who has now been detained by the Haryana police. And that is Mohammed Salman on your screen, and that is the RC that CNN News 18 has accessed. You can see that this Hyundai i20 is registered to the address house number 63 on the 3rd floor of Shantinagar, Gurgaon. HR 122001 is the address on the RC. So this also throws up more questions. Who did Mohammed Salman sell it to? How did it go from Mohammed Salman to several owners, and then finally at the Red Fort, outside the Red Fort metro station where this blast took place? But the big question emerges, what is the chain of ownership surrounding this Hyundai i20? Anshul is also joining us on the broadcast. So Anshul, that is the big question at the end of the day. The paperwork is in the name of Mohammed Salman. That's what the agencies have to go with. But to move ahead, to crack the chain of ownership, to finally come to know which terror module is responsible for this attack, that is the big daunting task ahead of the agencies.
Well, definitely all these questions needs to be answered. Initial questioning with Salman has already been done by the Haryana police, and Salman has said that he further sold this vehicle to a person with the name Devendra, and then eventually once Devendra was also questioned, it has come out that this vehicle was also then the third owner, it was sold to a third owner who goes by the name Nadeem, and then eventually this blast has happened. So this is the exact sequence of how the owners had changed their how the owners of the vehicle had changed their hands, or how the vehicle had changed its hand amongst the owners. If you look at the RC very closely as well, it states that it is a model that has petrol and CNG, petrol / CNG both. So somewhere or the other, the CNG blast angle yet again cannot be ruled out, because that vehicle was having a CNG tank on its boot. Initial investigation by the Delhi police suggests that the blast happened on the rear side, that is near the boot of the vehicle, and from there, as the blast exploded, there were vehicles that were lined up behind it on this very red light itself. And once the blast happened, then the other vehicles also caught fire. There were a few e-rickshaws over here as well, and they had also been set on fire due to this blast. So definitely it can be said that the investigation is still underway. A lot of layers are still being unearthed. On one hand, where the police is trying to find out the exact owner and the whereabouts of the vehicle, because remember, according to Salman, he sold this vehicle over here in the national capital at Okhla. and then from Okhla this was sold to another person in Haryana itself, and then eventually this vehicle finds its way back out here in the national capital. If you look at the if you look at the modus operandi of such attacks, generally, if at all such vehicles are being used, then the accused actually tries to somewhere or the other go and hide the number plate away from the vehicle, so that there is no direct connection that could be linked. But in this case, the number of the vehicle was very clearly visible.
Right.
In fact, the front end of the vehicle is still is something that the police is looking into. So somewhere or the other, the indications that are coming to the fore, it is indicative that that things would only clear up once the police clears up its investigation by tomorrow morning, and then eventually file a report in front of the Home Minister.
Right. So it is Mohammed Salman, Devendra, Nadeem, and then finally the information brought to us by investigations editor Manoj Gupta is that this individual on the right side of your screen, his name is Tariq from Shambura village in Pulwama. So the J&K link also emerging in this case. So this individual, Tariq from Shambura village in Pulwama, is he the one, was he the last owner of this Hyundai i20 which was used in this terror attack? And has this finally cleared the link to terror cells in Jammu and Kashmir? I'm joined by my colleague Anand Narsimhan on the broadcast to get more details. So Anand, this is a huge development that is emerging. First, we learned that Mohammed Salman had sold this car to Devendra, and to figure out the chain of events, the big name emerging from this chain is this individual Tariq from Shambura village in Pulwama.
Good evening. Ayushman, and to our viewers. See, this is big because Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details. We've also got confirmation with the image. The Haryana registration was perhaps to throw people off because the last owner of this used vehicle is from the Shambura village in Pulwama. And guess where the Pulwama connection takes us? The Pulwama connection takes us back to the ongoing investigation and the crackdown on this entire module. And the originator and the mastermind and the first arrest also happened. And there is a Pulwama connection to this and a Jammu and Kashmir connection. Now we also understand why the Jammu and Kashmir police was also present at the Red Fort. And somewhere they all seem to be connected. Are there other people in this module? Are there other people who have had access to some of that explosive, making material that has been taken out, by nearly 3 tons of it? We have to wait and watch where the investigation proceeds. But this i20 that blew up outside the Red Fort station with the Haryana license plate was owned, had a owner who belongs to the Shambura village of Pulwama, Jammu and Kashmir. And were these people connected? I think that's the next dot that would be lined if Dr. Muzammil, his accomplices, the other doctors, the person in Faridabad, the Maulvi there from whom the house was rented, this guy who buys the car and the other occupants of the car, were they all connected and were they all linked? That's going to be the biggest question mark right now, and perhaps the investigators will be moving in that direction quickly.
Absolutely, and that is the big development that's coming in. As you can see, the RC of the vehicle on the left side of your screen in the name of Mohammed Salman, and the current owner is this individual named Tariq, who hails from Pulwama. So, but Anand, at the end of the day, this also brings up very troubling questions about the reach of these terror elements from across the border through the Kashmir Valley, now in the national capital. The busts that have been made in the Dhoj village in Faridabad, where close to 3,000 kilograms of IED making materials have been seized, along with rifles as well as ammunition. And now this link to J&K over a blast that has taken place in the heart of the national capital. The capacity of these cells to strike deep in the heart of India is something that will, raises a lot of questions for the security grid of the nation.
That our security agencies do not know where they're going to strike, where they're operating, where they're hiding. Sometimes right under the light itself, where it is darkest. So, but the fact is that our agencies have to get it right 10 on 10 times. These elements and these terrorists, they can go wrong 9 times, and they get it right once. That also can lead to loss of lives and innocence, and creating an unnecessary atmosphere that could derail the entire growth track that Bharat is on. The other part is that this is now very, very clear that the enemy is not going to mend its ways. So will there be an unpause button on Operation Sindoor? Will there be perhaps a far greater calibrated attack at trying to eliminate all those who continue to harbor these kind of entity elements, and also to try and push them? This also shows that there is a sign of desperation, that they really want to create something big, a series of blasts, etc., to create a certain amount of strife. Now, does this just limit itself to the enemy right across the border, or are there greater powers at play who really want to destabilize and derail Bharat's growth process? That's another question for another day and another debate itself, conversation itself. But these are all aspects that we have to consider when we look at this. The other thing is that there is also the enemy, these people who want to foment terror on Indian soil, are also looking at the non-kinetic measures. It's only a matter of time when this entire ISKP module that's been busted in Gujarat, there is a connection which connects back to these elements who are now pushing both kinetic and non-kinetic. When I say kinetic, is through explosive material, arms, ammunition, creating the traditional terror strikes and fidayeen suicide attacks and bomb blasts, etc. But on the other hand, the non-kinetic option is where they start getting to using biochemical weapon systems like ricin, etc., that this doctor wanted to do, mix it in prasad at temples and also in water, at holy water, and create mass hysteria and deaths, etc., and also dent psychologically the belief system of Bharatiya people and their confidence, and try to unnecessarily instill fear in the mind of people and a certain level of panic. But somewhere our agencies have been able to crack down. And imagine if 3 tons of this explosive material had found its way all across the country. Imagine the number of blasts it could have triggered and the damage it could have done. So our agencies have been able to thwart a major terror module and a terror initiative. And this is going to set the enemy back a bit. But because the agencies are now much wiser to this entire modus operandi. But this will take a little bit of effort from the internal security-wise. It poses a great challenge. And one has to just see whether the dynamics of the tri-services exercise just assume a different dimension going forward in the coming days, given what has happened in Delhi today and what's unfolded over the course of the last 48 hours, and more importantly, over the course of the last week, ever since the first arrest was made by JK police in Pulwama in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right. Anand, at the same time, is it time that the security agencies also rethink how we look at OGWs? At one point, OGWs were only seen as terror supporters within the valley, providing logistics to terrorists coming from across the border. Now, with this entire cell that has been busted with an attempt to develop ricin, then the 3,000 kilograms of IED making material busted in Faridabad, and now the Pulwama link to the Red Fort terror attack. Should we now look at the OGW nexus as beyond Jammu and Kashmir? Is it time that there should be a nationwide sweep looking at these OGW networks that are emanating from Jammu and Kashmir?
Well, white-collar terrorists and white-collar terrorism was a phenomenon when they were called sleeper cells. And these were not ordinary people. And today we can see that there are highly radicalized elements among the highly educated population too. Who's radicalizing them? Who's seeded them? How long have they been seeded here? We have to wait and watch. Are these all people who have been radicalized in their youth and they've continued to go on living, and these people have just been activated to start collecting about 3 tons of ammonium nitrate, which is present in a lot in urea, is not easy because they've done so without raising suspicion, to have timers, to have other wires and other equipment to create and make IEDs, and also to walk around and have AK-47s, etc., along with multiple rounds of magazine, is not easy. It takes time to accumulate. So this means that this whole preparation has been in process for a while. But under whose directions and what is their motive, we'll have to wait and watch. But yes, we will have to double up the efforts and perhaps weed out some of these sleeper cells and some of these terrorists who have embedded themselves deep within Indian society. And they've tried to hide in plain sight. But kudos to our central agencies, our intelligence agencies, and also the state police, because for the state police functioning, machinery to coordinate with each other, cooperate with each other, and to work together in the interest of the country is a big step that we are taking. Because earlier we would see, police try to quibble over credit and also not allow access, and be using this entire internecine rivalries between the state police, etc. units. Terrorists and nefarious elements used to get away with trying to hurt innocent people. But all of that has stopped, and I think that's a big fillip. But like I said, our security forces are faced with this daunting challenge of not just shooting in the dark, but having to hit bullseye every time, because they've got to get it right every time. And for the terrorists, they can try 99 times out of 100, and just that once, if they get it right, they can wreak a lot of havoc and cause damage across, at various levels, physically, psychologically, emotionally, and of course nationally in terms of reputation of the country. So there are multiple dynamics, but this is a big step forward in the investigation, which perhaps closes the loop, or perhaps makes someone lean towards what's happened in the last 48 hours and link it with that very terror module.
Right. Thank you, Anand, for getting us that update. Let's get to our guest.